Hey everybody, I have some exciting news to share with you. Here at Rock Harbor, we are going to be hosting a prophecy conference on October 4th. It's a Saturday, and it's going to be right here in Bakersfield at Rock Harbor Church. And we're going to have a prophecy conference about the apostasy of the church. But we're not only going to talk about what's going on in a negative way in the church and how the church is losing its grip with the culture and not contending for the faith. We're going to talk about ways in which we as individual Christians can re-engage in the fight and battle through what's happening not only in the West but around the world. And so we're going to have a great cast of speakers and some top-notch guys that I have lined up, and they're going to have a one-day shot of not only exposing what's going on, but equipping us in, okay, what can I do to be salt and light? How can I go about confronting this that I see in my churches, that I see in my community, that the church is not doing and the pastors are not doing? We are having a leadership deficit. And so we hope from this conference to encourage many people at the grassroots level to take ownership and say, hey, look, will you be able to take out the truth and contend for the faith, be salt and light, because the churches are not doing it anymore. The pastors are not doing it anymore. So it comes down to our responsibility. And so that's what we're geared up for. And it's going to be great. You're going to be blessed, and you're going to walk away fully equipped to be able to handle this culture. And so hopefully mark down your calendars that hopefully you can attend in person, but if not, we'll have a live stream for your event, for anyone that can't make it. And it will, either way, it'll be a blessing for you. So mark the date, October 4th. It's a Saturday here in Bakersfield, California at Rock Harbor Church. Hope to see you then. Thank you guys for tuning in and watching our broadcast this evening. Today we have a special guest with us, my good friend Patrick Wood from Technocracy News, and we're going to be talking about a lot of interesting things that are going on in the world from a prophetic standpoint and also from a technocracy standpoint, because we're dealing with the expert here. But what we wanted to do too is also talk about the assassination of Charlie Kirk that happened today, since that's on everyone's topic radar. It's making the news right now. If you haven't seen that, we'll bring you up to speed on that. And so we want to talk about that and the implications for those of us in this world as far as truth is concerned, and the hatred towards the truth, and what the other side is willing to do when they see that truth. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a little bit with Patrick about that. Anyway, so let's start with a word of prayer, and then we'll get into it. Father, thank you, Lord, for this evening that you have given us. It is a tough day to watch all the things that transpired today with Charlie Kirk. We thank you that, Father, he's a Christian. We just pray that you would comfort and strengthen his family right now and wrap them in your love and protection. And Lord, I just pray, Father, that you would protect all of us. We're all truth bearers, and we know the enemy hates that. And so, Father, give us continued protection. And so be with us tonight, be with our words. We just pray that our words would be able to penetrate hearts and minds that are listening about these different topics, and that people would come to know Christ through all of this. So bless our time now. We pray in Jesus' name, amen. All right, so I got the one and only Patrick Wood. Patrick, Patrick, if a lot of people know you already because I reference you a lot, but for those who don't and they're online too, give them kind of your bio of what makes you such a technocracy expert.
Wow, well, it's a long story. 48 years ago, I was writing about globalization with the late Professor Anthony Sutton. We detailed the Trilateral Commission in those days, and that was my start, studying globalization. When I fast forward, when I discovered historic technocracy, it just sent alarm bells off in my head, and I've been studying it ever since. This is 18 years ago.
Wow.
So I have like another career.
Yeah, right.
On top of my other one.
Yeah.
Studying technocracy.
So let me before we get into all the ins and outs, because there's a lot of directions I want to go with technocracy. But let's talk about the assassination of Charlie Kirk and what transpired. A couple things. He was speaking at Utah and Utah Valley University, as he always does. And you made mention to me that in all of his rallies that you've always heard, and I've always heard, Charlie engages in a very civil dialogue with people. You live close to the family, don't you? So kind of just weigh in on that a little bit.
It's interesting that people who are soft-spoken often get the most hatred.
Huh, interesting.
Because if you want to argue and dispute with them, get mad at them, start a fight, fist fight, whatever, that seems to satisfy the situation for the moment. But when you speak clearly, compassionately, not raising your voice to people, that absolutely, and apparently, right, in this case, right, drove somebody off the edge.
Yeah.
And this was his MO forever. He's always engaged in civil discourse.
Yeah.
Inviting people to come to the top of to head of the line if they disagree with him.
Great.
Come on up, and
yeah.
we'll talk. And he talked with them and engaged them and never get mad, and that's a sign of the day.
Yeah, it sure is. The interesting thing, here's some footage of the shooting at there, and you can see the crowd, how many people were involved. A lot of people were listening, but the shooter obviously is at an angle, but enough to be able to see. So that shooter was close. But we're watching this constantly happen, almost on a weekly basis, Patrick. The other week it was a transgender going in and shooting up a Catholic school. Yeah. And we just continue to watch this violence. Look, speak to it from a prophetic standpoint, a biblical standpoint. What's going on? Because we continue to see this hallmark from the other side.
It's disruption. Disruption is that's the main tool that the devil has at this point, disruption. And when a narrative like Charlie Kirk can be disrupted and get everybody angry, everybody, really ticked off the whole thing, and even Christians too, I feel that anger. I have to check it because that's what the devil wants us to do. But when the devil's primary tool is disruption, however it comes, and killing people, obviously, that's just a major thing.
Yeah.
But there's other things as well that we can look at. But you see the umbrella of disruption on everything at this point, even in society. We're talking about technocracy. That's disruption as well.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw this, but you go to the left's response on this, and MSNBC and CNN, all these other people, and they blame conservatives for this. You hear the instantaneous gun law. We need gun laws, and then this leftist Democrat Matthew Dowd speculates one of Kirk's supporters shot him in celebration, and it's like, what in the world? And here's this guy, this Dowd guy. He goes, look at his response of why he said Charlie was shot. He's been one of the most divisive, especially divisive younger figures in this, who is constantly sort of pushing this sort of hate speech. What hate speech, Patrick, other than Charlie giving the truth, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I always go back to hateful thoughts lead to hateful words, which then lead to hateful actions, he continued. And I think that's the environment we're in, that you just can't stop with these sort of awful thoughts that you have and then saying these awful words and then not expect awful actions to take place. So this guy flips the narrative and says it's Charlie's fault. This seems to be the same pattern that we always see, that, whether it's the kids getting shot up in the schools or whatever, and the transgender does it, and they say, well, you know, it's because of all the hateful things the transgender is being put onto and the pressure, so they buckle under the pressure. Speak to that from a biblical perspective. What are they doing here?
Boy, I'll tell you what. I'm speechless. Honestly, I am. I don't know what to say. You know, the devil is very clever on how he can trick people into doing heinous things, but he also understands how to get Christians so riled up they'll take a response, you know, a shot back.
Yeah.
And at this point, it's like a dog fight. If you give a dog or two dogs a meat bone, what are they going to do? They're going to fight.
Yeah.
And they won't quit until one of them's dead or one has a meat bone.
Yeah.
So,
right. Right.
this is kind of what we see happening here. And this is all levels of society. It doesn't matter if it's a shooter in a Christian school, the Catholic school certainly would be considered a Christian school. Was that attacker going after Christians per se? It looks like it was. So there's a decided bent to get Christians out of the way.
Yeah. I think what I've seen, somebody put out a post and I researched it, and they put out the last, 10 attacks, and they were all fueled by people who went after Christians in all these attacks. So it seems to be a pattern. It's not like they're going after Joe Blow.
No.
It's we're attacking Christianity. Why is Christianity being attacked? What does Christianity stand for as far as what these people are doing?
Stands for Christ.
Yeah.
That's it. Stands for Christ. And these people obviously hate Christ.
Yeah.
You kill their followers, you can kind of get stick a finger in Christ's eye, I suppose.
Yeah.
It won't work, but
Right.
never,
But they're going to try.
they're going to try.
Yeah. You know, and that's the thing we've seen online that these deranged people, leftist, communist, Hamas supporters, they're cheering the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and of course that's demonic, right? But it seems to be that the left has a problem with dialogue. Whether you're talking about technocracy or we're talking about whatever truth it is, they always get beat up by the verbal jousting of the dialogue, and their only response seems to be attack, hostility. Is that the pattern you see?
Yeah, when you don't have anything to say, you attack. You resort to violence.
Yeah.
You don't have anything to say. If you cannot counter the argument, well, you start shouting obscenities, and then you bring out the bullets.
Yeah. Well, and that seems like where the culture is right now. So here's another question I have for you. I've been reading this guy, Dr. David Betts, professor of war, modern world and Department of War Studies in King's College London. And he was referencing, Patrick, the whole dynamic of the violence that's happening with Islam in Europe. And he is saying, look, the way things are going, we're eventually going to head to a civil war. With you're going to have the Bubba factor come out and say, you know what? I'm not going to turn the other cheek. I'm sick and tired of this, and it's going to let loose.
Yes.
What do you think? Are we heading towards that?
I think we are. I don't like it at all.
Yeah.
Even in America, I think you can see the handwriting on the wall.
Yeah.
God forbid that Americans would be killing Americans.
Yeah.
Like they did in the Civil War.
Right.
But you can see if it gets to an explosive level, shooting will take place somewhere along the way. There's so many troops on the street now. The police departments have been militarized. There's a lot of people have like militias just waiting for something to happen.
Sure.
Well, you just pray it doesn't happen.
I know.
But you can see it someday.
Yeah.
Someday.
It seems like it's building.
I know.
Yeah, unfortunately. So now let's pivot to your expertise, obviously. You spent almost all your life involved in this. Help people understand, let's start out real basic. Let's help people understand what technocracy is. What's the definition behind that? What's the philosophy behind that?
Number one, remember that was an economic system that was developed at Columbia University in 1932 They said their purpose, first purpose was to invent, so to speak, the science of social engineering. We see this all around today. People are complaining about, well, not just propaganda, but the social engineering that's taking place all around the world. And it's very sophisticated today, especially with AI. Then there was an aspect that it was an economic control system as well. This is why we identify this as with the beast system in the book of Revelation.
Right.
Is basically taking control of all the resources of the world and metering them out to the people, giving them maintenance, food and things to do, whatever. And this is not benevolent in any way, shape, or form, but it's nefarious for sure. So technocracy has risen to be, I think it's showing its face right now. It's basically going to be summed up as a scientific dictatorship, where everything is micromanaged, no matter what it is, your actions, where you go, what you do, what you spend your money on, et cetera. This is where it's headed today. This is worse than communism ever was.
This is worse.
Worse. Absolutely. I would rather live under a communist rule than a technocracy, because there's no way that you can't. Who do you call if the AI is controlling you? Who do you call? You can't go and kill them. You can't go assassinate them. It's like, so who do you call? Well, there's nobody to call.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, you can call a support client. You're going to be talking to a bot.
Right. Right. True. Good point.
State your complaint and then, hang up, I guess.
So, tell me this. Let's go back to Colombia where it originated. What was the motivation behind these individuals, these I don't know, technocrats, whatever you want to call them? Was it just as simple as world domination? We want to control the world. What was the motivation to say, this is a great idea?
At that time, they didn't have any intent to control the world, honestly. Okay. Nevertheless, these people had, they had already rejected Christ. The Bible was not in the picture anywhere.
Okay.
When you adopt a mechanistic attitude or worldview, then anything you do outside of God, of course, when you take the mechanistic view, if you just can discover what makes things tick, well, you can control it then. Okay. So the race was on to make things, to figure out how things worked in the physical universe, including people. Okay. And this worldview is so prevalent today, it's just not even funny. I mean, you look at any of the oligarchs in Washington, D.C. right now, mechanistic worldview is everywhere you look. They just think if it's just around the corner, if we can just get that computer brain interface working, then you can put the internet in your head, I suppose. Or if we can just get this new drug that can conquer death, we can become immortal. It's always something around the corner. It's never achieved necessarily, but it's always around the corner. Okay. So right. And the main thing is it excludes Christ all the way. Okay. There's no place for any other religion, well, especially Christianity. Let me say, people aren't shooting up Hindus right now. They're not shooting up Buddhists, right, or even Islamists, right? They're right. Christians are on the chopping, right? So yeah, we see this bias towards Christians, especially with the mechanistic worldview, because they hate that worldview. So in the mechanistic worldview, what's their view of humans? Basically, we're ants in an ant farm. Okay. I had one of those when I was a kid. Yeah, right. You can see both sides, so they see that. Exactly. But they're going to use AI to see that. Yeah. So it's definitely, they don't see people made in the image of God, so they don't value life then. Exactly. So are they part of the depopulation agenda? Yes, exactly. If we're just like animals in a herd,
Okay.
like the cattle in the feedlot. You
Yeah.
got a big feedlot up Highway 5,
Right.
Harris Ranch.
Harris
right?
Ranch right
I
up
know.
there, yeah.
Just picture that you're one of those cattle.
That's how they view you.
You got exactly right.
Holy moly, that's scary. So you said this in one of your articles, the existing global order is as good as dead. That's scary. What will rise out of the ashes is technocracy, also known as scientific dictatorship, with tokenization of everything, a social credit system run by AI, ubiquitous surveillance, and it will be like a boot stomping on your face forever. Explain to people tokenization. What do you mean by tokenization?
This is expression of cryptocurrencies.
Okay.
And these so-called tokens, they're basically a cryptocurrency, but they can be used for other things other than currency. So, for instance, if you had 10,000 acres of land and you wanted to issue tokens against that land, you could go through the process of so-called tokenization to say if it's 10,000 acres, make 1 billion tokens out of it, and then sell those tokens around the world, and everybody get a share of that land, right? So when the tokenization process takes place, the problem is the value is extracted with those tokens, because who owns it now? Well, it's spread around. So when the value escapes to the land ownership is not what it was before, but it's escaped into the ethersphere, and it's fair game at that point for anybody to come and buy it up. Yeah. The problem is I think this sets up a situation probably for the greatest heist that the world has ever seen.
Really?
With robbing property around our country and the world as well. This is a very dangerous situation that we have.
Well, in that quote you said, our global order is as good as dead. When did we cross that line to where we're not coming back? When do you think, in your estimation, that happened?
Probably 2 years ago.
Really?
So it was before Trump was elected, probably, but I think the die was already set. Klaus Schwab talked about it at the World Economic Forum, that you're going to, by 2030, you're going to own nothing and be happy, and sort of thing. I think in their mind, they thought that it's game over for the old order. And by the way, the Trilateral Commission 2 years ago, they had one of their big meetings, and I think it was I say India. Maybe it was not India, but was someone in the Asia. A member stood up. We don't know who it was, but that's you can't talk about that stuff outside. But somebody stood up and they said, this is year one of the new international economic order. That harkens back to what the Trilateral Commission said in 1973, that they were going to create a new international economic order.
Wow.
Okay?
Wow.
So he stood up in this meeting and said, this is year one of the new international economic order.
Wow.
So that's a signal to me. That was a signal to all the Trilateral people, especially, but I picked up on it.
Yeah, I'm sure you did.
Nobody else was alert to that, but I picked up immediately. So that's probably the time, about 2 years ago, when the old order was declared dead in that sense, and this new order is rising up out of the ashes.
Wow. Wow. Explain to folks, because I've been reading a lot of your articles and stuff, and in regards to this, you mentioned rise up out of the ashes. They're wanting to destroy the system that we have. You had an article I referenced a while back called the gal, I can't remember her name, the Phoenix Rising or something like that.
Yes.
Explain to people their concept of, they don't like our Constitution, they don't like our ability to vote or anything like that, and talk about this thing that rises out of the ashes.
You bet. That was Courtney Turner, by the way.
Yeah.
Great thinker, honestly. Well, that's exactly right. If they burn this system down, that's really the only way they can make the new system work. All the vestiges, the hardware of the old system kind of needs to be neutered, if you will. And their concept of rising out of the ashes, they're talking about this in these terms.
Yeah.
It's amazing. They're being very blatant about it.
Yeah, not hiding it.
Exactly. So the problem is, of course, nobody in the public reads what they write.
Yeah.
We tend to do it because we have to, I guess, but they don't just call up New York Times reporters, say, hey, we got a scoop for you.
Right, right.
We're just going to burn the world down right now. So,
yeah, they all seem to be doing it. So these technocrats, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Bezos, Zuckerberg, all these guys, what's their worldview, man?
Mechanistic.
It's mechanistic.
Exactly.
So do they believe they're going to be the gods of this new mechanism?
They do. Unfortunately, since the year 2000, when the financial accumulation happened with the Peter Thiels, the Elon Musk, where their fortunes were not in place in 1999, for instance, but from 2000 onwards, these people have made a fortune, and now they're, here's people who are among the richest in the world, right? By the way, Larry Ellison just got ahead of Elon Musk.
Did he?
Just today.
Just today.
So, these people have made all their money, and they're using that money to take over the world, essentially.
Wow.
To reform the world into their image that was as technocracy at this point. The total micromanagement of society includes, surveillance, digital tracking, digital finance,
sure,
social credit scoring system like they have in China right now.
Sure.
This is it.
Do they think they're the philosopher kings like in Plato's Republic, and they're the ones that are smarter than everyone else? Is that how arrogant they are?
It seems that they are. I wouldn't call them followers of Plato necessarily, but they have that kind of an attitude. They're better than everybody else.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. Well, the other thing that I see coming from then, and you've talked about this, is techno-feudalism. Yes. And that's a term I hear in a lot of your articles.
Yes.
So they want to be the kings, the lords of the land.
Yes.
And we're going to be what? The peasants?
That's right. That's right. Techno-feudalism is another term for technocracy, essentially.
Oh, is it? Okay.
When a few people own everything and everybody else owns nothing, what's that? Well, that's what feudalism is.
Yeah.
Right? That's it. Back in that day, in the Dark Ages, well, it was basically it was about land ownership. The land was owned by a few barons, and if you had a few hogs on somebody's farm or whatever, their property, maybe they would let you live, or maybe they'd kick you out. That's their discretion. It's the same thing today. And there's been a resource grab going on since 1973 when the Trilateral Commission started in the first place. That's another trail of thought, but there's been a decided move to capture all the resources of the world into one common melting pot and denying us access to all that property.
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, you can even see that with their platforms. I mean, we get kicked off of YouTube all the time, and it becomes a feudal situation. Well, I can't access YouTube because I don't go by their policies.
Yes.
Right? I can see that. Help us understand this guy, Peter Thiel. He seems to be behind the Trump administration, behind a lot of things going on. He's having a thing, I think, in San Francisco here coming up on the Antichrist.
Yes.
I'm a little perplexed by this guy. So help me understand, because he's warning about the Antichrist system, but yet he's putting it in place.
You think that's odd?
I think and he's doing a 4-part lecture on the Antichrist up in San Francisco. It's sold out. You can't, and they're not recording it. They're not doing anything.
I know. Some Christians think he may actually be on the short list.
Okay.
But not me necessarily, but he doesn't have a clue what the Bible's all about. I've listened to enough of his talk about the Antichrist, and he's not talking about Christ. He's talking about the Antichrist and Armageddon and how it's could wipe out the world, et cetera, et cetera. So he doesn't have a clue what the Bible says, but he's picked up enough jargon along the way that he can convince people that he has something to say. That's my opinion. I don't think he has a clue what he's talking about.
Okay. Where did this guy get all of his money all of a sudden?
Well, this is the co-founder of PayPal.
PayPal.
Back in the day, I know that.
Okay,
he was partnered with Elon Musk. That was the other co-founder.
Okay.
And they made their first several $100 million when they sold it to eBay.
Okay.
Is that what, 2005 or so?
Yeah.
That started their trek at that point, and the rest is history. But they've been very successful in business. Obviously, Elon Musk took his money and he grew to be the richest man in the world in 25 years. Same thing with Peter Thiel.
Okay.
He's risen to influence, not quite as flashy as Elon Musk has been, but he's now dominating the largest intelligence gathering organization, private organization in the world. That's Palantir, his company, Palantir. Very, very dangerous company, in my opinion.
Talk about Palantir, how involved in our government they are.
I wish I could say they're not involved.
Right.
But at this point, they've succeeded in opening the can, if you will, of sardines, and they've taken everything they want. Since the Trump administration this year, they've secured, I think, $1 billion of defense contracts and other things with the government to do intelligence-related things with their software. It's very sophisticated. You think predictive policing, for instance, where they want to predict what you do given certain circumstances.
Predict what you do.
Exactly. Not what you did, but they want to predict what you do.
You're guilty before you do something, maybe.
Exactly, yeah. So well, I lost my train of thought there.
That's all right. Well, as far as he's got all these government contracts in the government, why, and look, a lot of it's surveillance. Mm-hmm. Why do you think the Trump administration is allowing him to do that? What is it?
You have to understand the history of Palantir in the first place. Palantir was created as a replacement for the total information awareness debacle in the early 2000s. It was outlawed by Congress at that point. Then it got privatized with Palantir. Their first round of seed money came from In-Q-Tel. That's the CIA's venture capital company. They have one, believe it or not, they do. That's where they got the money from. Their first client for the first 6 years of their existence was the CIA. Oh. So they developed the software according to the specifications of the CIA, and they were always going to Washington, D.C. to check with, here's what we did now, and then you test it or whatever. So their system grew out of the CIA involvement in the first place. Mm. To say that there's not still some involvement at this point would be ludicrous to say that, that's not the way the CIA works. Yeah, for sure. Right. If they had their hooks and you had back then, somehow they have their hooks now in sure. The leadership at this point. So what's he doing in Washington, D.C., getting all his contracts? Well, it has to be laid at the feet of the CIA, I do believe. I hope we don't get shot for this. But, right. I'll tell you what, this is public information, though.
Yeah, I mean, I've read this online. It's public, right? It's not. Yes. You're not divulging something private. Yeah. Yeah. So tell me this. I mean, I think he's bamboozling a lot of people because this Acts 17 collective is a Christian, nonprofit Christian organization. They're thinking, well, he's speaking Christianese, and He's the main guy putting the whole surveillance thing into place.
I know, exactly right.
How are they not seeing that? Are they, I mean, let's speak to, are they, these Christians not discerning?
Well, no, this organization, the Acts 17 Collective, you wouldn't call them Christians.
You wouldn't?
Not in the normal sense.
Okay.
Otherwise, they wouldn't have Peter Thiel talking to him in the first place. I'm sorry.
That's what I'm thinking, right?
Would you invite him here to say, talk to your church? And I don't think so. But,
yeah, it's just bizarre. Let me play a few clips.
I love that.
Of them, and listen to Peter Thiel talk about this. All right, see if you can read through this, guys.
We have the mechanisms that would make world government a gigantic global surveillance state is plausible.
That seems plausible too. And then I think, again, to come back to the Soloviev-Benson plot hole, on its own, they both seem not that desirable. Why would we have a crazy surveillance state? Why would we, why would we do this? But if you're scared enough of these things, that's the weapon. And this is sort of where my speculative thesis is that if the Antichrist were to come to power, it would be by talking about Armageddon all the time. And
Peter Thiel, the Antichrist would talk about Armageddon all the time. He'd scare people and then offer to save them.
Yes, it's the 1 Thessalonians 5:3. The slogan of the Antichrist is peace and safety. And so, which is nothing wrong with peace and safety, but you have to sort of imagine that it resonates very differently in a world where the stakes are so absolute, where the stakes are so extreme, where the alternative to peace and safety is, Armageddon and the destruction of all things. And then that's where peace and safety gets you way more than it would have in 1750.
René Girard, in I Saw Satan Fall Like Lightning, one of his books, the Antichrist boasts of bringing to human beings the peace and tolerance that Christianity promised but has failed to deliver.
There are probably, I think there are all these elements where it's downstream from Christianity. You can think of, the poor shall inherit the earth, Sermon on the Mount. Marxist theory is we're going to be more Christian, we're going to accelerate it, we're going to bring it about faster. So there is, the Antichrist probably presents as a great humanitarian, as a great, it's redistributive, it's as an extremely great philanthropist, as an effective altruist, all of those kinds of things. And these things are not, simply anti-Christian, but it is always when they get overly combined with state power that something is very wrong. There are sort of ways Christ wants to unify the world. You have the parable of the Good Samaritan where, you should take care of people even if you're not related to them. And it's good to act like the Good Samaritan and to take care of people who are not just in your family or tribe or country. But then if you force everyone to be a Good Samaritan and you force a borderless world, it's somehow adjacent. Somehow it's an intensification, but it's somehow also very much the opposite.
Listen to this clip.
He's on my short list again. So
yeah, I get it. I mean, it's so hypocritical, And he gets pushed in this interview a little bit harder. Watch this.
This is my very specific question for you, right? Is that you're an investor in AI. You're deeply invested in Palantir, in military technology, in technologies of surveillance, in technologies of warfare, and so on, right? And it just seems to me that when you tell me a story about the Antichrist coming to power and using the fear of technological change to sort of impose order on the world, I feel like that Antichrist would maybe be using the tools that you were building, right? Like, wouldn't the Antichrist be like, great, we're not going to have any more technological progress, but I really like what Palantir has done so far, right?
Yeah,
I mean, isn't that a concern? Wouldn't that be the irony of history would be that the man publicly worrying about the Antichrist accidentally hastens his or her arrival?
There are all these different scenario. I obviously don't think that that's what I'm doing.
I mean, to be clear, I don't think that's what you're doing either. I'm just interested in how you get to a world willing to submit to permanent authoritarian rule.
Well, but again, there are these different gradations of this we can describe. But is this so preposterous, what I've just told you, as a broad account of the stagnation that the entire world has submitted for 50 years to peace and safetyism? This is 1 Thessalonians 5:3. The slogan of the Antichrist is peace and safety, and we've submitted.
Okay. Patrick.
Can you read it? Can you?
Yes.
Read that verse. Verse it. He's misquoting it.
He is misquoting it.
We just set the record straight here. Did the Antichrist say this or not? Anybody have a guess? Did he or not? Okay.
It's amazing that he can say things like that, and a lot of Christians are not picking up on that. They're not. He's using Christianese.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And
yes.
And they're like, "Wow, he sounds Christian."
I know.
He's throwing around our terminology.
And specifically, he's saying that the Antichrist said something in the Bible that's recorded. And I got news for him. The Antichrist is not quoted anywhere in the Bible saying anything.
Right. So here's the passage. It's 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 1. And the Apostle Paul is stating this, not the Antichrist. But concerning the times and seasons, brethren, you have no need I should write to you, for you yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so comes as a thief in the night. For when they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction comes upon them as labor pains upon a pregnant woman. And they shall not escape. But you, brethren, are not in darkness, so that this day should not overtake you as a thief. You are all sons of light and sons of the day. We are not of the night nor of darkness. Therefore, let us not sleep as others do, but let us watch and be sober.
Yeah.
There you go. He misquotes it.
Who said it? They said it.
They will say that.
That's right, not the Antichrist.
Not the Antichrist. And a lot of people will interpret that passage as a pre-tribulational peace and safety before the sudden destruction comes upon the whole world. And so it's obvious Peter Thiel doesn't know his scripture very well. But, but look, Patrick, we talked about how bad the church is in a position right now in Laodicea. Most Laodicean Christians couldn't pick up on that.
You're right.
They wouldn't pick up on it. They would just hear the terms. Well, I guess that's said there somewhere because they've never studied about the Antichrist anyway. Mm-hmm. But anyway, he's a strange character because I think the guy pushed him into the corner saying, you're building the very system that's going to probably be used. Speak to this guy, Curtis Yarvin, and the Dark Enlightenment. What's going on with this guy? And did this guy shape Elon Musk?
This guy looks like Einstein or something. I don't know. Weird character.
Yeah.
This is Peter Thiel's house philosopher. That's what he calls.
That's his philosopher. Okay.
This is he was made man by Peter Thiel himself when he funded his startup company. He's a software geek in Silicon Valley, and he got into this thing of the Dark Enlightenment. And you remember when Elon Musk brought out his black MAGA hat at one of the rallies before the election, and he says, I'm not regular MAGA, I'm dark Gothic MAGA.
Huh, interesting.
This was a tip of the hat, this guy at this point. So Curtis Yarvin, he's a pedestrian philosopher for sure. He doesn't have any training in it at all, but nevertheless, he's convinced Silicon Valley that he has something to say. Basically, what he's saying is we need to have a CEO run a company, the country. We need to create a system of sovereign corporations.
Sovereign corporations.
To own everything.
Right.
And the Sov Corps will be in charge of everything, and you'll do whatever they say to do, I guess, like technocracy, right? Well, this guy's taken a lot of heat, but unfortunately, a lot of people, especially in Silicon Valley, a lot of young people are following this guy now around the world and in our country as well. And I think maybe he has something to say. He said, well, democracy is over, totally over.
Yeah.
There's the old being destroyed, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, he's saying, well, you need to get over your dictator phobia. That's a direct quote.
Wow.
Okay,
Wow.
And you need to accept the fact that we're going to have a new change in society, and beyond what we have now, like a constitutional republic, et cetera. And everything this guy has talked about is so upside down, you just can't, it's unbelievable he can say it in this society today. But he is saying it. He's been interviewed all over the place by, well, on podcasts, and I'm not necessarily on CBS or like that, but he's made all the rounds hyping his crazy philosophy. And most importantly, this is the guy that Peter Thiel has picked to champion his philosophy.
Really? Okay.
Exactly. So Peter Thiel has said some things over time that mimics Yarvin to the letter.
Wow.
So, they're two peas in a pod.
Right. Yeah. So is Thiel the money behind it, and this guy's the philosophy behind it?
Exactly. Yeah.
So this mindset of an authoritarian dictator over technocracy, that's appealing obviously to Silicon Valley. So is it appealing to younger people? Because I've seen stats too that younger people are appeal to socialism, communism, and different things like that. And so is this mindset appealing to a non-Christian mind, I guess?
It is, and it's not that they're looking towards something. The younger generation wouldn't have a clue what a Marxist was or a socialist was at this point. That's not in their vocabulary at all. But what Yarvin said, what people are doing is they're recoiling away from the status quo into dark places, I guess, but they're reacting against what's gone before, like democracy, et cetera. You see in polls, even this week, something came out, I saw that like 60% or maybe 50% of the young people today are totally dissatisfied with a democracy. They don't say, well, we have to move over to do something else, but that's not the point. They're dissociating with democracy. That's fertile ground for Curtis Yarvin.
Yeah, and I can see to some extent the truth in some of that, because we are all, even as a Christian, sick and tired of watching a two-tiered system of justice. We're sick and tired of politicians who don't do anything. We're sick and tired of these career politicians. And yeah, we see the abuses. And I can see why the younger people would say, this system doesn't work.
That's right.
I can totally see that. Even though there's, the solution is not this, obviously. Yeah. So is it, let me ask you, is it economic mobility is what they're looking for? What are they looking for?
Well, the concept of a sovereign corporation, this is what he came up with, okay? Yeah. The concept there is that the Sov Corp will own all the resources in society.
Okay, they own all of it.
And their fiefdom, whatever their territory is defined. They will own all the resources in that unit, and they will make all the decisions for the startup company. They always liken running everything like a startup company. That means move fast and break things, basically.
Yeah.
And so, what Yarvin is trying to set up is basically a technocratic system that keeps everything in like a common trust,
okay.
manufactures goods and services for people to consume, and then allocates those certain goods and services to the people. How much your share be? That's undetermined at this point.
Oh.
But this is what Technocracy said in 1932. The same thing. They said, well, we're going to distribute to you from birth to death, and we'll make sure that you get you'll get your share of the continental wealth. That's what they said. That's what you're going to get, your share of the continental wealth. Well, what the heck does that mean?
Right, what does that mean? And what amount is that?
Yeah, exactly. So maybe you get enough to survive, but that's about it.
Wow, I can see the appeal at the elite level. I just don't know how you would convince somebody, hey, we're going to take basically all your rights away, and we're going to portion out
Yes.
a little bit for you to live on.
Yes.
Explain this one. We got the Dark Enlightenment. This is the guy I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Nick Land and accelerationism. What's this guy's game?
Well, Nick Land and Curtis Yarvin were together in the Dark Enlightenment philosophy. Okay, this is Land is from the UK, and I don't remember where he went to school, but he's actually a philosopher. He has a PhD in philosophy.
Okay.
So he's a legitimate philosopher. He's cracked, but nevertheless, he has a degree.
Sure.
So one of the things that he brought to the table, this concept of accelerationism, you'll see this with well, all of the tech bros at this point. They talk in terms of accelerating something. Acceleration, that's the art of accelerating whatever you're doing. The premise of accelerationism is that you run it into the ground, pedal to the metal until it breaks.
Okay.
That's taking your car on the freeway, put a brick on your accelerator, and sooner or later you're going to wipe out, or whatever, hit a pole, cause a wreck. This is the concept of accelerationism. So in their mind, they're doing society a favor by getting things that would break in the first place, that getting rid of those things, breaking them, and then letting technology then take over from there.
Oh, wow.
Crazy stuff.
Yeah. And part of that, from what I read, is they want to accelerate capitalism to just go out of control.
Exactly. You see this, anywhere you see this term, accelerate, just put this definition right here on it. This is the only way that give the context to get it, to understand what they're talking about. But you'll see this term all over the place.
Wow. Let's talk about why so many of the tech billionaires are around Trump. What are they seeing with it, with him? We saw that at the inauguration, and we saw that David Sachs is the AI crypto czar.
Mm-hmm.
We see that Trump, Larry Ellison, and Sam Altman seek to establish a $500 billion Stargate project in Texas. Patrick, what's going on here?
Isn't it interesting? These are the same people a year before Trump was elected who hated Trump.
Right. What are they doing?
They weren't leftist. However, you can't tag them that way. They will use any political avenue that they can to get their way.
Okay.
That's the point.
Okay. So they're opportunists, maybe.
Exactly. Totally. So you see this huge flip-flop when Trump got elected, and basically it was Peter Thiel that put the flag up, say, hey guys, we're over here now.
He did.
Come here,
okay.
rally here. Then they all showed up.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. They all showed up.
Look at Mark Zuckerberg.
I know
he's like, oh my God,
he's a deer in the headlight look guy.
I know. This is an amazing lineup. It really is. Look at the Secretary of Commerce up there to the left or the right of Elon's head. That's Howard Lutnick, by the way.
Okay.
He's a bad one too.
Is he?
Technocrat. Yeah.
So, what's the deal behind Peter Thiel with J.D. Vance? Explain that relationship.
This is his protege.
So J.D. Vance is his protege.
Exactly.
So tell me this then. How much does J.D. Vance buy into this?
Unfortunately, a lot. Because,
really?
Well, when he got out of law school, the only job he ever had or association was with Peter Thiel. He worked for him initially. He started his own investment company after that, funded by Peter Thiel. So Peter Thiel has had his claws into him from the get-go. Then when he ran for Senate in Ohio, Peter Thiel donated the largest amount of money ever for a senatorial campaign. I think it was like 11 or 12 million dollars. Maybe more. No, not. I have my B's. Whatever it was the biggest contribution ever for a Senate campaign. But he did the same thing in Arizona. He had a candidate, Blake Masters, who also worked in his California office. He sent him to Arizona at the same time to run for Senate in Arizona. We got rid of him, fortunately. He's still there, probably going to run for office again. But I sized him up as a snake in the first place. So he's out. But he did the same thing in two places, Arizona and Ohio. Ohio paid off. Arizona didn't. That's my point. So he set this up very carefully to make sure that somehow J.D. Vance would be in the political system somewhere. He was happy to get him as a senator for sure, but when he saw the opportunity to lever him into the vice president position, that was icing on the cake.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. Let's talk a little bit about AI, the unintended consequences of this, because this seems to be accelerating at a breakneck speed. I want to play Yuval Harari. You guys probably know this guy. Listen to what he says.
Contrary to what some conspiracy theories assume, you don't really need to implant chips in people's brains in order to control them or to manipulate them. For thousands of years, prophets and poets and politicians have used language and storytelling in order to manipulate and to control people and to reshape society. Now AI is likely to be able to do it. And once it can do that, it doesn't need to send killer robots to shoot us. It can get humans to pull the trigger if it really needs to. AI has just hacked the operating system of human civilization. What we are potentially talking about is nothing less than the end of human history. Now, not the end of history, just the end of the human-dominated part.
What do you think about that?
There you go. This is the mindset.
Yeah.
You can see it. Exactly.
So with this mindset, you know, he goes on and of course we see automation. And automation is starting to take over a lot of things. I saw this Mustafa Suleiman's book. I think you had one of the articles about this. The McKinsey Group estimates that roughly half of all work activities will become automated starting as soon as 2030. The interesting date is always 2030, yep. Isn't it? More than 400 million global workers could need to transition to new jobs or roles. There will eventually be fewer areas where humans can outperform machines. AI will quickly outpace human workers at office tasks like administration, customer service, and content creation. Huge changes in how people work are likely to result in a period of dramatic transition. New jobs enabled by AI's advances won't come soon enough to rescue large portions of the global workforce. AI will eliminate a lot of current jobs, and there will be classes of jobs that totally go away. So here's Yuval and the Harari saying, what are we going to do with all these people that don't work?
In the book, if I understand it correctly, you argue that actually the amazing breakthrough that we are experiencing right now not only will potentially make our life better, but they will create, and I quote you, new classes and new class struggles, just as the Industrial Revolution did. Can you elaborate for us?
Yes, in the Industrial Revolution, we saw the creation of a new class of the urban proletariat. And much of the political and social history of the last 200 years involved what to do with this class and the new problems and opportunities. Now we see the creation of a new massive class of useless people. As computers become better and better in more and more fields, there is a distinct possibility that computers will outperform us in most tasks and will make humans redundant. And then the big political and economic question of the 21st century will be, what do we need humans for? Or at least, what do we need so many humans for?
Do you have an answer in the book?
At present, the best guess we have is keep them happy with drugs and computer games.
So keep them happy with drugs and computer games.
Yeah.
How, Patrick, in your estimation, how far are we away from masses of people not having jobs?
It could be 2 or 3 years from now, for sure. It'll be gradual. It's probably starting right now, but it'll be more intense, I think, as we go on. And you see companies, high-tech companies especially, they're either laying off workers or they have a hiring freeze for new programmers at this point because AI has taken over the jobs.
Yeah.
Now, AI could do a great job at programming, possibly, but will it be able to really perform at the level of a human in time? There's a trap, I think, probably ahead for society. They get bought into the idea, well, or the bosses will get the idea that, well, I can replace all these people now with robots or agents, AI agents or whatever, and they can do the jobs. But what's going to happen, I think, they find that they can't get the job done, and then the whole company or the society starts to fall apart.
Huh.
For instance, when Doge came into Washington, D.C., they let a bunch of people go, right? That was part of Curtis Yarvin's philosophy, by the way.
You're right.
RAGE, replace all government employees. So they let a bunch of people go from important agencies, and they chalked it up for saving a lot of money for taxpayers. But the AI moved in at that point and took over those jobs, those functions. And then they discovered, the agencies themselves discovered, you know what? All those people that we just let go, they're calling them back now.
Huh.
Because they can't do the job. They can't figure out, they need them to do the jobs that they did before.
Interesting.
And so you don't hear that in the newspaper, though.
Right.
They won't let that happen. But they realize very quickly they make a big mistake in some cases, like to let some people go.
I see.
That should not have been let go in the first place. I call this buyer's remorse.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. That's a good way of putting it. Does this eventually lead into, in your opinion, like universal basic income for people that can't have jobs? Where does this go if that starts happening?
Well, this is exactly what they're talking about. You see people like Andrew Yang. Remember, he ran for president before. And Elon Musk talks about it. Sam Altman talks about it. A lot of people of the tech bro class of people, they're talking about UBI. Maybe, where are they going to get all the money to pay UBI in the first place? Well, they say the government's going to have to do it. But it's not going to be us. We have the hundreds of millions, billions of dollars. We're not going to pay it for sure, but somebody else will. That's crazy, but the government will never have that kind of money to pay everybody a salary. It's not going to happen. And what Harari said about the useless eaters, that's my paraphrase. This idea of a new class of people, this has been kicking around for a while. Harari's not the only one that said it, but you see this term now, the unemployables.
The unemployable.
Not the unemployed, but the unemployables who will never have a job again. What do you do with them? Well, that's a big problem. Well, when we get to it, we're just going to magically have UBI on stage to pay them something, so that they don't take pitchforks and torches and come after us.
Yeah, right.
So, but they never have a concrete solution for it, how it's going to happen. And they can't, because there is none. At this point, there's no way that they can achieve that level of payments to people. So you see, well, there's a con job to this whole thing. There's something really wrong with it when these types of loose ends aren't tied up.
Right. Well, they're accelerating, and they haven't figured it out.
You use that word.
That's
accelerate.
Accelerate.
I know,
right?
exactly.
And when you're accelerating, you're not thinking through a lot of things, like where are we going to get the money for this? And the scriptures, I think it indicates, it tells us where we're going. It goes to extreme poverty, a quart of wheat for a day's wages. That's where it goes in the tribulation, to where it takes a person, a whole day to make one meal.
It's interesting. There's a demarcation here. There's a quart of wheat and a quart of barley. That's for the common people.
Mm-hmm.
But don't harm the oil and wine.
Right.
That tells you how society is divided at that point. You have the mega rich. Don't hurt the oil and wine that they consumed, but all the peasants will be scraping to get a meal out of a day's work.
So basically, the whole middle class is eliminated.
Yes, exactly.
It's just everyone's poor, and they have the elite.
This is the concept of neo-feudalism at this point.
Yeah,
That's
right.
It's a feudalistic system where the rich own everything and the peasants, the heck with them. They'll get along like the vermin in the street. Whatever the rats.
Right.
It's just crazy, but that's a bad attitude, in my opinion, for humanity. But you can see this kind of mentality when people like Sam Altman speaks.
Yeah.
You listen very carefully what he's saying, and you scratch your head. What did he just say?
Yeah.
Did he say anything of substance? Well, he can't come to, just like Peter Thiel did it with that interviewer.
Yeah.
It's like they have no answers, really. If you pin them down, they have no answers for anything.
Yeah.
That's really disturbing, because these are the people in charge of our future.
That's right. That's right. And it appears that they haven't thought through a lot of things, but whatever it seems to benefit them is fine. Yes. But it's not going to benefit the rest of humankind, that's for sure.
Yep.
So you mentioned something about, on this one article, the global banking titans like JP Morgan, Chase, Citigroup, HSBC, Deutsche Bank, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs have rushed headlong into Islamic Sharia banking. Their future growth strategies are built around Islamic demographic trends and Middle Eastern capital flows. Western economies have become dependent on Islamic finance for liquidity, growth, and stability. How does Islamic Sharia banking play into this? What's going on here?
I'll tell you what, I surprised myself by going and reading an article that I wrote in 2007 about Sharia banking. I just forgot about it. And all of a sudden I had to study this whole thing again. And I ran across my article, and I got to update this and figure out what's going on. Has it progressed from 2007? Holy mackerel.
It has, huh?
It has.
Oh, boy.
At this point, Sharia banking is totally different from our system of debt-based economic system, right? The Islamic world has an asset-based economic system.
Okay, it's asset-based, okay.
It's not at all like ours. It's like oil and water. But they've made inroads into the Western banking system to sell their products, their so-called Sharia banking products, and like their bonds and the leases that they do and the profit-sharing things that they do with mostly for Muslims, but also to Westerners who don't understand what they're doing, basically. Yeah. So at this point, it's got, for instance, in the UK, London is crowing now that they're the crown jewel of Islamic finance in the world. What?
What in the world?
Well, look at all the Muslims they have in the country.
Yeah. Well, we've been talking about that.
Exactly. So what's happened, there's been a merger of the banking interests, like the Western banks, the large Western banks, and even the IMF and the BIS as well, they're involved as well. They're accepting and normalizing Islamic finance.
Wow.
The problem is we doesn't mean we're all going to be under Sharia law, but this is what they would like to do, because that's anywhere finance takes them, Sharia is going with it.
Wow.
Right? So the influence is there.
Yeah.
My guess, there's something afoot right now with our debt-based system that probably is going to collapse at some point.
Okay.
Because it can't survive. Mathematically, it has to terminate at some point. If somebody gets the idea that we can flip into an asset-based system, an economic system, that would be what Technocracy said in the first place. They wanted to do away with all money, and they wanted to do away with all finance as well. So
there you go.
If somehow our debt-based system could flip over into an asset-based system, unfortunately, it will be lining up with the Islamic world.
Oh my goodness.
It already is an asset-based system. So the tokens that they're inventing in their world, the tokens that we're inventing in our world, they'll have a high degree of interchangeability. This is very disturbing.
Yeah,
it really is. In fact, it has prophetical implications as well. I've had so many discussions with people. Well, what will this end times religion look like?
Yeah.
At this point, you have to give credence to Islam. All of a sudden, it's using this back door to infiltrate the whole world.
Yeah, it is.
All of a sudden, and everybody's doing it. Even China,
really,
they're accepting it now. And Russia as well. So it's all of a sudden they have a wrapper around the whole world with Islamic banking.
Wow.
So that doesn't mean they're selling they're not in charge of anything yet, but that's the way they operate. They get a foot in the door, like the camel gets its nose under the tent.
Under the tent. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And then the rest will be history. So we have to analyze this now, probably in prophetical terms, figure, well, maybe we should look at this. Maybe it will be Islam in it, or maybe some derivative of Islam.
Yeah.
It may not be the Catholic Church, in other words, but
right.
That's just speculation. I'm just saying we need to rethink it in light of this.
Well, it's definitely a news to me because as far as finances are concerned, I didn't know about this until you wrote that article, but we definitely see their influence in politics. Mm-hmm. We definitely see their influence in migration, taking over Europe.
Yes.
It is a major problem, no doubt about that. Yes. So we talked about debt-based going to this asset-based. Let me talk about this. OpenAI pursues kids with AI by signing contract with giant toy maker Mattel. Can anything go wrong with this? What's the problems with this? Right?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, right? Having AI, we already know AI has a black box aspect, but Patrick, what do you think about that?
Well, here's Sam Altman, probably the greatest con man in the world at this point. He sold AI, oversold it for years now. And he's not satisfied with the profit he's already making off subscriptions and selling subscriptions like for $200 a month for people around the world. He's reaching into these other areas to apply AI to other situations. Like he recently joined forces with Johnny Ives. Remember he was with Steve Jobs, main designer, right? Well, they're building something right now. Who knows what? They won't talk about it, but they're teamed up. Well, all of a sudden we get this news release here that Sam Altman has teamed up with Mattel to produce AI toys.
Wow.
Isn't he getting enough money already? Well, obviously not. He wants to reach in now to get these other systems in place and collect money. But maybe it's just not about money. Maybe it's basically to subvert the whole generation.
Sure. Totally.
Of future users of his products.
Sure.
You think?
Yeah, I could totally see that. I mean, we already have problems with AI causing people to leave their spouses, causing people to commit suicide, or, you know, people wanting to marry their AI chat box. You know, I mean, it's ridiculous.
I know.
But you put this on kids, an AI?
And remember, Sam Altman is gay, for one.
Yeah, he is. That's right.
He has a husband. Well, I don't know, husband or what. He's
partner or
gay,
whatever.
Exactly. They're married.
Yeah.
And they just adopted a child. Now, what's he going to do with that child? Is that child going to grow up with Mattel toys? You think?
Yeah.
Or
Probably
I don't
not.
want to go there, but you know, his mind is so screwed up. He can't tell where the sun comes up, I don't think.
Well, isn't it interesting that in their personal lives, you know, they're anti-God, but in their personal lives, you know, isn't Peter Thiel gay too?
Yes, he is.
Yeah, he is. So there's always this thing going on behind the scenes and morality-wise. You had another article, Why Are Households' Electricity Bills Soaring? Ask AI. We're all in California dealing with all of this. What's the story behind all of this?
You know, everybody has a sensitivity now what these AI data centers are doing to our communities. I'm sure you have a bunch of them in California. We do in Arizona over here. That's unbelievable what they're doing. But these AI data centers, they consume so much energy and water as well. We can't afford the resources in the first place, but nevertheless, they're sucking us dry.
Mm.
This is happening all across the world, or our country at this point. Utility bills are going through the roof.
Yeah.
I just did a show recently in New York City, WABC. It's a big flamethrower in New York, conservative talk show. And it was a call-in show. So people call in. We're talking about this article right here. And the host wanted to get involvement with the callers and said, well, what do you think about this? You know, the utility bills. He said, basically, you just lit up the phone bank.
Yeah, I can see why.
The callers that got in, they were so frustrated.
Yeah.
They're getting utility bills like 200-300% over their normally outrageous bill.
Wow.
They can't afford to pay them.
Right.
And the utility bills, the companies, they don't care. You don't pay their bill, you're out.
Right. Right.
And you just sit there with no power. That, you know, in the winter, you be ice cubes, right?
You're right.
So there's no mercy at this point for these poor consumers. And it's going to get worse because these AI data centers, again, sold by who? Well, people like Sam Altman. Well, we have to have these data centers because we have to beat China.
Yeah.
Or some crazy thing. You know, we have to beat China to the punch. We're not in a race with China for that's not on the table, but nevertheless, that's what they say. We have to have these data centers so we can be the premier force in the world for AI. So we have to do this. It's going to be painful at first, but you'll see it's going to work out and we'll make everything right at the end. And somehow, this is another unintended consequence they haven't thought through.
Right.
Very dangerous.
It is.
So at this point, yeah, people are going to be suffering across our country, and most of them are catching on.
Yeah.
In fact, I can see this as being the major thing that breaks the public's back to get them on the street.
Yeah.
To go protest these people when they can't pay their utility bills at that point. Where else do they go? They got to go to the street.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
No, a lot of people are ticked off about this, and again, they're wanting us to sacrifice for their agenda.
Yes.
Let's talk about. Here's the interesting thing that you always tie it into is technocracy with transhumanism, and I want you to kind of explain the connection. Why is there a connection between the two? We just saw Xi, Putin, and Kim over there, and here's a video of them. But look at the topic they're talking about, Patrick.
On the sidelines of the high-profile meeting of several world leaders, Russian President Vladimir Putin and Chinese President Xi Jinping were overheard talking about advances in the science of human lifespans. The brief exchange was caught during a live news video feed of Xi and Putin as they walked with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Their words were inaudible, but their translator, still on mic, could be heard detailing parts of their conversation. The meeting between the leaders took place as Xi...
So they're saying transhumanism language.
They are, exactly. Isn't it interesting that all these leaders of the world, they all are transhumanists now?
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
It really is. It's amazing. They're concerned with their life, even though some of them are still dying on. David Rockefeller died recently. Henry Kissinger died recently.
Right.
Forget them. But these leaders, they think, well, we can beat death. This is the dream. That's the ultimate dream of transhumanism, is to beat death. They think the story now goes like, well, if death is just like a disease, we can conquer death as a disease. That's good. Let's go do that. So they pour hundreds of millions of dollars into life extension companies in America, like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Larry Ellison. All these people are pouring hundreds of millions of dollars into these companies to beat death. Well, they're not going to be successful,
Yeah.
Because the Bible says very clearly it's appointed to man to die, and then comes judgment, right? So they're not going to ever achieve that, but they think they can.
Right.
That's their stupidity at that point. That's what they're focusing on. Well, when technocracy got really heated in like circa 2000, the transhumanists were there at the same time, focusing on the science that was being developed by technocracy at that time.
Okay.
They saw their opportunity then to get into the mix with the science.
Okay.
To advance this concept of immortality. So they've been buddies ever since. You see, the technocrats of the world, they're usually the ones that are the first transhumanists as well.
Interesting.
Like Elon Musk, for instance, he says openly. So does Jeff Bezos and all these other tech bros. They openly talk about the way they're going to conquer death.
Wow.
They're also technocrats, but they're transhumanists.
Transhumanists.
They run in the same circle. So that's why I titled my book, The Evil Twins of Technocracy and Transhumanism. They really are evil twins joined at the hip.
Huh. Interesting. Strange bedfellows, but it makes sense. If you believe you're a god, you're going to control everything. So part of being a god, you'll live forever. It goes right back to the Garden of Eden.
It is, yeah, very much. There's a lot of similarity there.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. So Western civilization seems like it stands at the crossroads, Patrick. What's your time frame? Because I know their time frame. They always say 2030. What is your estimation as how fast do you think you're going to see these? How fast do you think we're going to see a digital currency? How fast do you think we're going to see that?
This is upon the digital currency at this point is almost upon us because of what the work, for instance, of David Sachs, the AI and crypto czar. This group of the tech bros, they've created a regulatory framework to house, if you will, this new crypto system. And remember, this is not part of the Federal Reserve at all. this point. That was outlawed by President Trump when he signed an executive order on almost day one, forbidding the Federal Reserve from pursuing a digital currency, like central bank digital currency.
Yeah.
So that lockdown, huge shot across the bow, in my opinion. But now they've privatized the whole system into this other monolithic structure that has its own set of regulations now. I won't talk about that, but they're in place right now. So the door seems to be open almost, probably by the end of this year, we'll see some form of this crypto system in place.
Wow.
And there's two sides of it. One side is the payment aspect.
Okay.
That's like currency. You know, you have to make payments here, there, and wherever to people. But there's another side to that, the asset-based tokens, what we talked about earlier.
Right.
And so that's another side of it. When you have people like Howard Lutnick, for instance, he's the Secretary of Commerce. He's also a technocrat through and through. He's a big crypto guy and private business, right? So when he said on national TV, he was lusting over the assets of the United States, like the United States has 680 million acres of land that never released to anybody. It's just sitting there, vacant, you know?
Yeah.
And he lusted over this land. He said, oh, if we could just get our hands on all those assets, national assets, we could make trillions of dollars, out of it. And I thought, this guy's off his rocker.
Yeah.
These aren't his assets in the first place. There are assets.
There are assets, yeah.
But they're going to be heisted, I'm afraid, if he gets his way, to privatize and digitize all those assets into existence.
Right.
So likely we're going to see something happening by the end of this year, certainly 26. Will it spread all over instantly? Probably not. It'll be incremental, but it'll be rapid. Remember, accelerationism is a key word here.
Yeah, acceleration is.
Always accelerate.
Yeah, wow. Well, here's what I want to do with the remaining time. If you guys have some questions for Patrick, I want you to be able to voice those questions. And we'll have the mics come to you if you have any questions. You just raise your hand, and our guys will get to you pretty quick.
Yeah, we know that the voting machines have got problems with them because they can be infiltrated and changed. I'm just wondering, is at this point anybody talking about the Achilles heel of AI and how we stop it sometime in the future? Is anybody going to be working on that, or is that any sort of a priority for people?
Here's the problem. AI now is running on these giant data centers around the country. When I say giant, you're talking in some cases like 1 million square feet under one roof. That's huge. There's 43,000 square feet in an acre. That's huge. Well, once AI is running and in place, you can't just pull the plug. And in some cases, these facilities will be manned, or not manned, but they'll be guarded by troops, federal troops possibly. And at that point, well, you can't just go in there and start cutting wires. They're going to be so protective to keep the system running. That's the problem at this point. I'm afraid it's gone too far at this point to stop that way. There was a Star Trek episode I remember years and years ago where Captain Kirk is trying to trick the computer on the ship to defeat some process, whatever. So he tricked it with language, and he got it to admit or get in an infinite loop until it spit out buffalo chips or something. And that was a cool scene, but that's not going to happen with AI because you're not going to trick it out of itself at this point. So good question. I can't answer it.
Sir?
Right back, right. Go ahead, David, back there.
Yes, hello. Thank you for being here tonight. I would just like to key in on one aspect of some of what you were talking about tonight, and that was when the three world leaders were walking along the wall, casually discussing elongation of human life. And I'd like to point out, and please feel free to react if you want to, that the Chinese government is big time into organ harvesting. I'm a reader of the Epic Times, okay, and the Falun Gong gang that gets their revenge on the CCP by publicizing their misdeeds. And here's these three world leaders casually walking around and saying, hey, we could probably get our lifespans up to 100 or more. And they mean by taking off-the-shelf people and harvesting their organs and having them inserted into their bodies. And they do this on a commercial basis right now. And I just want to express my own personal outrage with the Chinese government. I think they are, never mind. Okay, that's it.
I agree. I totally agree with you. They're outrageous. And Chairman Z just referenced that in this video. It's amazing. Some people probably didn't pick up on that. I'm sure you would. I picked it up immediately what this guy is talking about. It's just outrageous. And obviously it's a thing. It's a thing. It's not just a conspiracy theory about a thing. It's a real thing. Otherwise he wouldn't mention it on hot mic session.
Yeah, right there.
Yes, thank you for being here. Very interesting. I think what worries the business owner and just everyday people, and I think even churches, what suggestions, if any, would you have in helping us or thinking about protecting our assets? Because this digital currency is going to affect everyone, churches, all of the people. Would you have any suggestions whatsoever?
We're entering a fluid time where it's going to be really hard to predict what's going to come next. But you might remember back when FDR was president, and he decided to take all the gold away from the people. It was by mandate. Just said you're going to turn it up, turn it in, or else. And you got a certificate, a paper certificate, in return for that. But basically, that was outright theft of all the gold. That was basically the wealth of the people at that point. That's where people put their savings in their gold that they held on their person. Well, we should remember that kind of mentality that he made at that point. And somehow the people went along with it. I don't know what were they thinking, honestly, but they did, because all the gold ended up in Fort Knox, and people didn't have it anymore. If there was a possibility of them doing something of that scale today, to somehow to flip us away from a debt-based system into an asset-based system where they owned all the assets, that would be catastrophic to the American people. It really would be. It'd be the end of capitalism, because capitalism is propped up by private property rights in the first place. The right to private property is all the way back in the Declaration of Independence as well, and not just the Constitution, but before that. So private property rights are essential at this point. If they're stripped away from us, we have no capitalist system at that point. What would that mean for Christians, like business owners and workers, whatever? As Christians, I'll tell you what, we need to adopt a new mindset, starting probably right now, to think where we're going to be dependent on Christ not on the things of the world, because it's going to be very fluid going forward, right? This is going to be a testing ground, I think, for Christians in the future. And any true Christian, he'll sort it out eventually. But like the old ad said, you can pay me now or later. Now's the time to make that decision, I think, to decide where you're going to come down with Christ on this. Because if either Christ is our provision, like he says in the Bible, or he's not, there's scary times ahead. That's all I say. But we can't be fearful, on the other hand. Fear is sin. Don't buy into that. We have to be anxious, have to be fearful, this stuff. Fear is the enemy of our soul. And it also cuts us off from the love of God. Remember, the Bible is very clear that God is love, and God draws us with his love. And if the perfect love casts out fear. So if the devil can get us into the mode where we're afraid, we're anxious, whatever, then he can do anything he wants to do with us at that point. We can't let that happen. As Christians, you just can't let that take root in your mind and your heart. No fear, no fear. Charlie Kirk was a guy had no fear. If you ever listen to him, I had some differences maybe with Charlie, but you know what? He was on the level as what you saw was what you get, And he always professed Christ along the way. It doesn't matter where he was, he would always bring it up. That's a good model for us, I think, at this point. We need to be first and foremost Christians, and then second, and whatever else you do, that comes second. So, just saying.
Yeah, that's good.
All right. This online question is for Patrick. The question is, our lives are becoming intertwined with AI. Does our speaker tonight believe that we should interact with it?
There are good uses for AI, probably for some types of research, if you know what you're talking about in the first place. But to think that AI is going to lead you down the path to truth, if you don't understand where you're going in the first place, you always end up in a ditch. That's my opinion. And especially if you want to ask anything to an AI chatbot of a personal nature, don't ever do that, because they're all that will do, just give them an idea how you're psychologically misfit or something, and they're going to be coming for you sometime. Don't do that. These companion apps, they call them these days, all the tech bros are promoting this now. This is so sick. A companion app is marketed to mostly young people, but older people too, as well, that young people need to have a friend, like an imaginary friend, you had, and this chat bot can interact with you, listen to you, affirm you, teach you, whatever, and you can talk to it day and night. Don't have to wait for your parents to come around. Well, at this point, these apps are sweeping the world. It's unbelievable. I did a survey, rough, not scientific probably, certainly not, but I totaled up the top 10 apps that I could find of these companion apps. They're marketed. You can pay, some are free, maybe $5 a month or something. And I sized up how many people are doing that. I found since the genre was created 2 years ago, 2023, 200 million people are already using these apps around the world. 200 million people. That means your kids. Could be your grandkids might be using these things right now. This certainly is these companion apps they're intentionally deceiving people into a false reality. Very dangerous. You don't ever want to do that for sure. So don't talk to an AI bot, I don't care what it is, or search engine or whatever, about your personal effects, your personal illnesses, what you're thinking and your, whatever, what your children do. Don't do that.
Patrick, Michael has a question for you.
Mr. Wood, sir, I'm just curious about this. In a technocratic society, let's say, in a technocratic society where the resources are controlled and everything, in terms of skill sets, what would you recommend as far as growing our skill sets so that way we can remain relevant and be an asset in there?
Yeah. Wow, that's a great question. Don't be an AI programmer, for sure. That's a job that's going to be let go first. But I'll tell you what, service jobs at this point, I think are going to be probably primo, because like the plumbers, the carpenters, and people that get stuff done in your house, those jobs can't be done by a robot at this point. Maybe they can in the future, but not right now for sure. So service jobs, they're easy to get, like trade school, you can get into trade school, maybe you're going to be a welder or something like that. That's probably a better choice than seeking a college degree at this point, especially if you're going to borrow money to get your college degree. So, good question.
Yeah. So I have a question for you. We're a very unique country in that we are heavily armed. So my question is this, the evolution of all of this seems pivotal on the disarming of America. So the question is do you think the government is going to, at the risk of a lot of bloodshed, just have a frontal assault? Or should we be looking for the red flag of, okay, you know what, we're done. Guns are just outlawed, and that's your cue to, I don't know, get ready.
I know, this is Pastor.
Yeah. Go ahead. I can chime in.
We see a good likelihood that America could be in the middle of a civil war at some point. I know. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see it at all. But it's possible that it could happen. And at this point, the technocrats, it's not in their best interest to make a bloody war out of something, because it's going to destroy a lot of their infrastructure in the process. So likely the concept of AI at this point has got so sophisticated that it can mold public opinion in any way it wants to at this point, down to the group level and even down to the personal level. What used to have in terms of propaganda, swaying young people, for instance, to do something or another. Well, now with a companion app, for instance, you can target an individual with personal information only designed for him, not anybody else, but just for that person alone, either to cause him to go and shoot somebody or not to shoot somebody, whatever. So AI is coming, this is becoming the new censorship and the science of social engineering grown up. And I can't really express in a quick 2 minutes how sophisticated AI has become to target people. This is what Palantir is all about, by the way. This is their forte. They can reach into society and pick somebody, a troublemaker like me or him, whatever, and all of a sudden, then they can radiate out of that, and they see all the other people who've been listening to us, like here and online, and then they can radiate a message to those people negating what we just said. And so could they possibly avert a civil war that way? I could possibly see that. But the alternative isn't very nice either. So,
yeah.
Thank you, Patrick. Can I get
the other thing, David, I've read other articles too. If you have a digital currency and it's programmable, then you can just say, well, you can't buy weapons or ammo with the currency. It won't allow you to buy it. We're not going to take away your Second Amendment, but you just will not be able to purchase a weapon using the digital currency.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. They're already doing that.
You're correct.
Exactly. So in a lot of ways, they don't even have to take it away. They'll just override it and say you can't use it for that. And then that's a way to subvert that, obviously. But yeah.
Yeah.
One more question over here, please.
Over there? Yeah, great. Yeah. Where in the,
Where we go?
Hey, over here. Okay.
Hello. My question isn't really on the techno side, but you brought up J.D. Vance, and I have a question. It appears what you were saying that he was in effect placed in the White House, just as I believe Obama was. So how do we trust him? And what if he runs in the next presidential election?
That's a good question. If he's on the side of the tech bros at this point, which it appears that he is, he would be the great, he'd be the great president for them, for sure. Yeah, kind of scary. I saw this strange statement that he made 2 weeks ago, last week maybe. I just caught me off guard. He said something like, "I'm ready. I'm ready to be president," something like that. Like what? That's totally inappropriate for him to say that. I don't know what he's thinking. The press kind of glossed over it, but I didn't like it. I didn't like the talk at all.
Wow.
Over here.
It's a two-part question. So the first part was with Elon Musk and Trump, kind of the fallout. Do you kind of feel like that was more of a protection of asset? And then the second part is typically with any type of technology or any type of advancing intelligence, you always have an opposing view. So with all the information we have here, is there any other like tech companies that you do have to believe in tech and use tech, but is there any companies that are trying to keep it in check?
Okay, interpret for me a little bit. Give me the gist of the question.
She's wanting to know if there's any other tech companies that are trying to counter this, basically.
Okay, gotcha. I don't know of any. Honestly, there might be some minor companies, but I don't know how successful they're going to be. I don't know, honestly.
So these companies they're just behemoths.
They are, yeah. By the way, I have to talk about Peter Thiel here. You have to understand his mindset. This guy is weird all the way, but in college, he was a master chess player. That was his passion. And he didn't just win chess games. He wanted to dominate and humiliate his opponents. He was known for that. Very vengeful player. He got out of college, and when he first started his first business, PayPal, he concluded that competition is for suckers.
Okay.
That was in light of his chess days, right? He said, he concluded competition is for losers. What you need to do is dominate your field. Whatever it is, dominate it. Absolutely establish a monopoly if you can, and take over the whole space. That's exactly what he's done with Palantir, sure. Right? So this is seen in the way that he got involved with these companies along the way. Like he was the first investor in PayPal, or in Facebook, first outside investor in Facebook. Made a lot of money off that.
Yeah. So
when you talk about these people establishing an impenetrable hedge around themselves, they've done that. I'll give you one more example. Peter Thiel has a habit of setting up the corporate structure for his companies. He did this with PayPal, and he did it with Palantir as well. Other companies have. Facebook did the same thing. The founders have a separate class of stock that only they possessed. It's called preferred stock. And they're the only ones that have this class of stock, and it guarantees them that, that they will always have the majority control of the company, no matter even if all the other shares got sold. So no shareholder can lodge a lawsuit against them to tell them to do something different. So Peter Thiel set this in stone when he formed these companies in the first place. So in Palantir, he, Alex Karp, and Peter Thiel, and the other co-founder, there's three of them, they three alone can say what Palantir does. No shareholder can keep them from not doing that, right?
Wow.
So this is, they set this up as a defense mechanism for interlopers like us to want to make them do something, and even the government can't break this at this point. So this really hard to get off the dime, get these people to do something different. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Two things. The first one's more to just back up what you said about AI. I'm an author. I work with Amazon. I'm part of their Kindle Unlimited program. Long story short, they've been introducing AI for a while. They pretty much eliminated narrators already. They have been beta testing AI narrators, and the first set were not so great, and they've gotten to the point where you can't pretty much tell the difference. And my daughter just told me that she knows a professor at her school that works for Adobe, and they've eliminated stock images, meaning they're going to be gone in the next probably 6 months to a year. And that means covers will no longer be designed by cover. It's all going to AI. So, and they're asking questions of authors if they're using AI to help write. So I would think probably the next few years, us writing isn't going to be around anymore. It's going to be controlled. On the side note on that is that I wanted your opinion on the 5-minute cities. I know we've talked about that here and there, and how I've been hearing rumors of government-controlled grocery stores where basically they're going to control where we eat, where we live, what we do, and back to like shutting down currency if you don't comply, but not even allowing us to travel, that we'd be contained in the environment.
The 15-minute city concept has grown out of the 2030 agenda that the United Nations produced 15 years ago, almost 15 years ago. And the concept is you draw a circle, like how long it would take, like 15 minutes to ride out of that area on a bicycle, for instance, but make a radius. And that's basically going to be your living space. That's their concept of a 15-minute city. Everything within that sphere would be where you have to buy your groceries, your doctors, and every other thing we would do, and pertaining to life, basically. Your church, et cetera, I guess. May not be too many churches in that area, but people around the world are really complaining about this concept of 15-minute cities. In England, I think there's a major protest going on there. I can't remember exactly what is in Europe. There's some people in Europe are really complaining about it. It's hitting us, I think, in this in our country slowly, probably, because people are kind of resisting the whole thing. But when you see these mixed use developments going up, that's usually a sign that you see 15-minute cities being constructed around it. So it's something to be concerned with, for sure. If you can possibly live outside of that, do it. If you're in it and you can't get out, that you have to live with it. And here's the challenge for Christians too. God plants you wherever he wants you. I'll just say that right out.
Yeah.
And thank you for I just read. Hey, so these techno bros and everybody that's they speak so frankly about what they're doing, or what they plan on doing. And I have a lot of non-believer secular colleagues that are also hesitant or really weary of what governments and all this stuff we're talking about now. They obviously don't have in depth what we're talking about, but a lot of times they're saying in the spiritual world, this is true with Satan and all that as well, that they have to tell you what they're going to do to you before they do it. I hear this as some kind of a rule, kind of like in the spiritual secular realm, and I'm not very knowledgeable on this in what God will allow Satan to do in regards to.
Yeah, isn't the devil is a blowhard? You know, he always wants to show off what he's going to do. And people have that habit too. Sometimes the elite have this habit of, you know, kind of blowing a whistle on something they're going to do. Like for instance, that event 201 that happened before COVID, that was a sure, I mean, anybody that listened to that meeting would conclude that they were setting the whole thing up. Months before, the devil wants to get credit in advance if he can. So you know, that's just a thing, I guess.
Yeah, no doubt about that. All right, any more questions? All right. Oh, we've got one more hand, and then that'll be the last one, and we got to wrap things up. And
yes, I have a question. I know we're going to be getting into digital dollars, so are we supposed to comply with that and pay our bills with that? Because I know the next step is the mark of the beast. You won't be able to buy or sell without it.
That's that part of that. Can you?
yeah, is eventually this is going to be the mark of the beast, or you won't be able to buy and sell? Where's this going, and how do we resist it if they start implementing these things in our lives? If you're saying this is going to come at the end of the year, is there a way to get off the grid, so to speak? You know, and how to resist this?
Yeah, for most Christians, you are where God plants you, and you're going to have to slug it out there, I think. But that's a good thing, because, you know, we look at a group of this. You all live here, I think, probably most people in this community, right? Okay. You're going to be the only witnesses that your community might have in the future. Your ambassadorship is special, and I don't think God has made any mistake. If you're in this society and you can't move out, you can't be a prepper, you can't store up food for yourself and buy guns and ammo, whatever. I'm not saying you should do that, but I'm just saying, if you don't have the means to get out, so to speak, you have to consider maybe God has given you everything you need right now, where you are right now. And I think that's seen in 1 Peter, but basically he's giving us everything pertaining to life and godliness. Okay, so life is part of that, right? So whatever he's given you at this point, you're going to be able to execute that where you are effectively for Christ. He'll use you. In other words, he can use you exactly where he plants you. And I know this is a hard pill to swallow. I live in a city. I'm not happy about it. I grew up on a farm and a ranch, wide open spaces, rolling hills and all kind of stuff. I love that life. That's not for me now. God has planted me in a city, and that's where I'm going to be. If it hits the fan and everything switches over, whatever, he's going to use me exactly where he plants me. And every Christian has to get this in the cross, so to speak. God doesn't make mistakes. I just don't think he makes any. None of you are a mistake in this room. Wherever you are, God doesn't make mistakes, period.
Amen. Amen.
So we comply with digital dollar? We comply with the digital dollar? We use that when it comes out?
Will you comply with the digital? Should we comply?
Well, it's going to be difficult not to. You might be able to barter with some gold coins or silver or something like that. Maybe have some cash left over in your possession. You can probably get along. But as sooner or later, you run out of stuff, and then you're back to square one. I have an idea, by the way. The most barterable objects in the universe, believe it or not, is this are 22 shells. Because everybody has a 22, right? So if you have some shells on your pocket, you want to barter for something. Hey, I got some shells here, whatever. You might con somebody into giving you some food or whatever. But barter's okay. You can do that, and if that helps, fine. But if you store out food, I'll tell you what an opportunity you're going to have to share that food with people who are hungry, and give them the gospel. Yeah. Give if it's the last meal that you have to give away to somebody, give it to somebody and give it the gospel at the same time. Yeah. And so God will use you and provide provision for you where you live, no matter what. I'm thoroughly convinced of that.
Amen. And the good news is the mark of the beast doesn't come until the tribulation period. Yes. So even if they establish a digital currency, that's not us using the mark of the beast. That will only be issued in the tribulation. So you don't have to worry about that. Yeah. But we'll try to get off the grid as much as we can. No doubt about that. Yeah. Patrick, you got some stuff coming up.
Does everybody have one of these yet? Do you all have one? Okay, if you don't, get one on the way out. I want everybody to have one if you can. This is our new brochure on Technocracy. This is something you give to somebody and get them thinking about what Technocracy is. It's not inflammatory. It could be, but I'm not. I wanted to make it really palatable for people to read it and understand what Technocracy is. Hopefully they'll get it and scare their pants off and turn to Christ. That's okay. Yeah. He has a way of doing that. And so we also have a symposium coming up on October 4th. That'll be interesting. It's an international conference, and it'll involve, Sweden, Japan, the UK, and me in the United States. It's going to be an interesting thing. You can pick it up on technocracy.news. It'll be there, and it'll be free. We're broadcasting it all over the world, as a matter of fact.
Amen.
That's why, yeah.
We got to get the message out. Amen. Are you going to be in the back at your table?
Yes, I will.
Okay, so if you want to talk to Patrick a little bit more, he'll be back at his table. Did you bring any books or anything?
We have some books and have some packs of brochures. If you want any more, take this one for sure. We have packs of 25. We're selling it for $20, and you can pass them out to people around your neighborhood, where you work. Pass it around.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you, Patrick, for being here. We appreciate you, man. God bless you. And just keep doing what you're doing. You're sounding the alarm. You're the one guy letting everyone know what's happening around us. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. Anyway, we gotta get going. Let's leave with a word of prayer, okay? Father, we do thank you, Lord, for Patrick being here. We just pray for him and his wife having travel mercies as they go back to Arizona. And we just pray, Father, that you continue to use Patrick to get this message out, to warn people that truly the beast system is getting set up. We're living in those days that you said would happen, and we see it. So help us to warn, help us to encourage people to come to know Christ, and help us to disciple ourselves to be able to get ready for what's coming in our way, barring the rapture coming at any point in time. So prepare us, Father, and we thank you for telling us that this would go down. It's sure going down exactly as you said it would. So we can trust you for that. Bless us now as we go. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. God bless you guys for coming out.